introduction, I will talk a little bit about Bosnia and Herzegovina, or sometimes we call SBIH or BNH. Bosnia and Herzegovina, often known informally as Bosnia, and a country on the Balkan Peninsula in southeastern Europe. Bosnia and Herzegovina's economic freedom score 63.4, making its economy the 68th freest in the 2022 index. Bosnia and Herzegovina is ranked 36 among 45 countries in the Europe region, and its overall score is below the regional average but above the world average.
Hi, my name is Izati Husna with YUSOF, and my ID number is 2020490744. I'm the second presenter, and I will explain thoroughly further inflation. Firstly, the inflation theory. Inflation is defined as persistent and sustained increase in the aggregate or average price of level of goods and services in an economy. Inflation implies that there is an increase in the cost of living that causes lower purchasing power. So, it basically explains that whenever people keep on purchasing, the cost of goods or services will eventually increase. Hence, it affects to the purchasing power to become lower than usual. Okay, next is the types of inflation. There are three types of inflation. The first one is demand pull inflation. The second one is monetary inflation, and the last one, the third one, is cash push inflation. As for demand pull inflation, it occurs when the aggregate demand exceeds the aggregate supply. For example, a reduction in income tax. Okay, the next one, the second one, which is monetary inflation, is known as over-expansion of the money supply. It is a sustained increase in the money supply of a country. Third one, cost push inflation. It occurs and arises from decreases in aggregate supply. It happens when there is a shortage of supply labor, raw materials, and more. Next, calculation and measurement. Inflation is index measured by Consumer Price Index (CPI) data over months or years. There are 4 stages of huge operation in calculating the CPI. Firstly, select a base year that everything gets compared to. Second, selecting the CPI basket of goods and service. Third, conducting the monthly prices of selected goods. Fourth, the last one, giving weightage to the relative importance of each category of goods and services. Okay, right now, the effects of inflation. There are good and bad effects. As for the good ones, it is an anticipated inflation, and it may reduce the real burden of debt, both public and private. As for anticipated inflation, it brings out about positive effects as it stimulates market growth, resulting in higher profits and increased production, hence a reduction in unemployment. Followingly, people will incorporate this expected high level of inflation into their plans as they tend to spend and invest more. If they didn't do that, their money will be worth less in the future. It also affects or reduces the real burden of debt, both public and private. For that, it may increase in salaries over time due to inflation, allow you to spend less on mortgage payment as it consumes a smaller percentage on your earnings. As for the bad effects, which is unanticipated inflation, it may affect the distribution of income and wealth, discourage investment and savings, affects the balance of payments, and break down in the function of money. Okay, it's already near the end. Group that will gain or lose during inflation are debtors 39%, property owners 36%, shareholders 31%, creditors 4%, and salaries workers 4%. As for debtors, the purchasing power of money is reduced by the time they pay their loans. Next, property owners. The price property increase often faster than the average rate of inflation on all goods. Then, shareholders receive higher dividends when the firms gain high profits. As for the group who lose, firstly the creditors. There will be a reduction in the purchasing power of outstanding lands on the loans. As for the salaries workers, their salaries are slow to adjust to the rising price of goods and service. Okay, last but not least, the rate of inflation in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The chart shows the rate of inflation in Bosnia and Herzegovina from 2007 until 2021. The perceived rate of inflation is fluctuating. The inflation rate has increased from 2% to 6.3%. The inflation rate in 2021 was only 2%, while it used to be -0.5% in the previous year. In this case, the slope in this percentage may be due to the decline in some part of the country in terms of exports, imports and exports.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Masita binti MAHMUD. My student ID number is 2020475614. Today I will present about unemployment. Unemployment is described as a scenario in which a person of working age is unable to find work but wants to work full-time. Additionally, those individuals in the workforce or in group or individuals who are available for employment but do not have a suitable position. Unemployment is commonly assessed by the unemployment rates, which is calculated by dividing the number of jobless persons by total number of the people in labor force. Unemployment is one of the economic indicators. Bosnia and Herzegovina have one of the highest unemployment rates in the Balkan region. So, unemployment is one of the country's most serious public concern. Bosnia and Herzegovina continue to have one of the worst rates of unemployment in the Balkans, which is 43.2%. Bosnia and Herzegovina unemployment rate is 3 times greater than the European average. Next is type of unemployment. Unemployment have 3 types, which is cyclical unemployment, frictional unemployment, and structural unemployment. For cyclical unemployment, change in economic activity across the business cycle causes cyclical unemployment. During a downturn in the economy, there are fewer jobs available for individuals who wish to work due to a lack of demand for products and services. Example can be seen in the unemployment rate in Bosnia and Herzegovina, rising sharply with the early 1990 recession, declining to low level by the mid-2000s, before rising again around the time of the global financial crisis. Next is frictional unemployment. Frictional unemployment happens when people transition into and out of the labor force, as well as when they shift between jobs in the labor market. Worker mobility is required for a flexible labor market and aids in the effective allocation of labor across the economy. As a result, job seekers are not instantly matched with opening and may face a period of temporary unemployment. This sort of unemployment is usually for a shorter period of time, usually less than a month. Lastly is structural unemployment. When there is mismatch between available job and person searching for work, structural unemployment emerges. This mismatch might be caused by the fact that job seekers lack the skill necessary to do the available tasks, or by the fact that the available positions are located far from the job seekers. As a result, employers who are out of the structure issues are more likely to endure long-term unemployment. Next is calculation and measurement. As you can see on the slide, there are unemployment rate for 1990 to 2020. An unemployment rate can calculate by dividing the number of the jobless person by the total number of the person in the labor force. For effect of unemployment, we have three factors, which is the individual, the impact on the economy, and effect on society. Low unemployment is the key to economic stability. When unemployment rates are high and steady, there are negative impact on long-term economic growth. The effect of unemployment can be divided into three. First and foremost is the individual, the effect of which is that unemployment people cannot get money to meet their financial obligation. For example, unemployment can lead to homelessness, illness, and mental stress. Their physiological disorder continue to be aggravated by economic instability in the country. The graph rate show an increase in unemployment workers in Bosnia and Herzegovina. If this worsen, economic growth will decline. Next is the impact on the economy. The graph shows the employee unemployment increase because the economy is in recession, or the natural unemployment rate increases by factor in the labor market, such as government regulation on hiring and starting a business. If unemployment remains high, the people will feel dissatisfied, which can cause civil unrest in the country. The last of which is the effect on society. Economy with high unemployment do not use all resources efficiently, especially labor. Looking at the graph right in Bosnia and Herzegovina, unemployment is on the rise. Individuals who do not get the job they need will receive job below their skill level. Then economic efficiency will decreases. Employees will lose skills leading to loss of human capital. Lastly is critical discussion. How to reduce unemployment. The way is policies to reduce supply-side unemployment. First and foremost is provide education and training. The aim is to provide new skills to the long-term unemployment that enable them to find employment in emerging industry. Next, reduce the power of trade unions. If unions can bridge wages beyond the level of market clearance will result in real wage unemployment. In this case, reducing the influence of trade unions or reducing the minimum wage will help solve the real wage unemployment. The third way is employment subsidy. Firms can be given tax relief or subsidy for taking a long-term unemployment. This help give them new confidence and job training. However, it will be quite expensive and it might encourage companies to replace current employees with long-term unemployed to benefit from tax cut. Hence, stricter interest requirements need to be imposed. The government should take a more proactive role in making unemployment workers receive job or risk losing benefit. Finally, a low minimum wage will create opportunity for unemployment and unskilled workers to gain the necessary work experience and stimulate the economy to hire more people. That's all from me. Thank you.
Next is public policy. Public policy is an institutionalized plan to solve relevant and real-world problems, guided by a nation and implemented by programs as a course of action devised and adopted often by government or non-profit organization. Public policy has been defined in various of ways beyond this broad nation. 4 types of public policies. First one is distributive policies. Distributive policies extend goods and service to members of an organization as well as distributing the cost of goods or service among the members of the organization. Second is regulatory policies. Limit the discretion of individuals and agencies or otherwise compel certain types of behavior. These policies are generally thought to be best applied when good behavior can be easily defined, can easily regulated and punished, taught fines or sanctioned. Third is constituent policies, create executive power entities or deal with law. Constituent policies also deal with fiscal policy in some circumstances. The last one is redistributive policies. Policies are dynamic. They are not just static lists of goals or law. Policy blueprints have to be implemented, often with unexpected results. Social policies are what happen on the ground when they are implemented. Next is critical discussion about the public policies implemented in Bosnia and Herzegovina to overcome inflation and unemployment. The political system in Bosnia and Herzegovina is complex, reflecting both the provision of the country's constitution to the system which were implemented with of high international community via the Office of the High Representative. They have some strategies to overcome inflation and unemployment. First is increasing public sector efficiency and effectiveness. Second is creating conditions for accelerated private sector growth. Third is building resilience to natural shocks.
To summarize the findings of our case study in regard to Chapter 9 and 10, which serve as sources for our analysis of the issue of economic expansion in the Balkan States, Bosnia Herzegovina is specifically mentioned. The problem of inflation in Bosnia Herzegovina was the first thing we investigated. Aside from that, how can Bosnia Herzegovina lower the proportion of people who are unemployed? Between the years 1999 and 2020, there is significant concern over the unemployment rate in Bosnia-Herzegovina, which now stands at 16.85%, a decrease of 1.16% from 2019 compared to the years that came before. The rise in unemployment in Bosnia-Herzegovina may be attributed to 3 different types of unemployment, which are cyclical unemployment, frictional unemployment, and structural unemployment. In Bosnia-Herzegovina, the impacts of unemployment may be broken down into 3 categories, which are individual effects, economic effects, and social effects. In addition, public policies need to be put into place in Bosnia-Herzegovina so that the country's unemployment rate and inflation rate may be brought under control and help to level off. The only way for Bosnia-Herzegovina to achieve sustainable growth that is beneficial to all aspects of society over long term is for the government to take decisive action to streamline and improve the efficiency of the public sector, in addition to releasing the untapped potential for growth and job creation in the public sector.